Hello everybody, welcome to the Endicott House Culinary Workshop. Today I'm going to do a few demonstrations for you. If anybody has any questions during the presentations, you can submit them through the chat box and I will ask them as best I can at the end of getting the demonstration. We're going to do three different things today. We're going to do a Pico De Gallo with avocado. We're going to do a watermelon salad with corn, cucumber, and feta cheese. A roasted veg tortellini salad with pesto. And with that, start. We're going to start with the Pico De Gallo. Some peppers, some garden tomatoes. You can use plum, you can use fresh garden tomatoes. I prefer the fresh garden because that's what I have at home. Fresh garden. Hold up a little better. The heirlooms I like better than the plum tomatoes. So you want a nice fine dice. That's about the size, little cubes. Throw those in a little bowl. And I didn't choose the sharpest one. There we go. And we're going to have some yellow pepper, yellow bell pepper. You can also add some hot peppers. I'm going to put jalapeno in this one. At home, I prefer it a little hotter than most people do. I have ghost peppers that I grow, and yellow cayenne pepper. So it depends on your taste. If you want it a little hotter, just go for the hotter pepper. Like the Scotch bonnets are also another spicy one. But I think most people generally prefer the jalapeno. They think they're hot. They're really not that hot compared to a lot of the other peppers. They're milder than you may think, especially to me. I'm going to put a Vidalia onion. You can also use red onion if you'd like in this, but this time of year, Vidalias are really nice and they're sweet, so it's a good time to use them up. Again, everything around the same size dice. Which is nice small dice. Try not to scrape the knife on the board like a lot of people do. If you are chopping something, use the back end of your blade rather than the front end because it just dulls your knife. So just a little words of wisdom. Now here's this is actually a Santa Fe pepper. It's around the same heat as a jalapeno, maybe a little bit less heat. And jalapeno right here. Definitely want to have gloves on for the hot peppers. These seeds will burn you and then you rub your eye. So you don't want to do that. So right now we're using gloves in all our preparation because of the situation we're all in right now. We've always used gloves, but for every little thing, we weren't as we didn't put them on things when we got them out of the walk-in and stuff like that because everything is washed. But now we require that everybody wear them all the time. So, and we change them out after every application. And we got an avocado here. Here's a yellow tomato. Pardon me if I look down a little bit. I don't want to cut my fingers off. I'll smile once in a while. I think I know who used this knife before I did. Inside joke. All right, here's our avocado. Good way to peel it. If you want to score the knife into it, turn it around all the way like that. Pry it open. There's the pit. You want to score the knife into it and then spin it. And now the pit will come right out. And to get it out, what I will do is I just run it on my hand. If you want to do it on a board, if you're more comfortable doing it that way, then that'll work. But I've been using a knife for a long time, so hope I didn't jinx myself. Just run it right along the inside of the skin. And then I just use a spoon and scoop it all out right into the bowl. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this one. You can feel the blade going through right to the end. You just don't want to put too much pressure on it because you'll be off to the hospital. All right, so there we go with that. Now, we want to add a little bit of lime juice and a little bit of fresh lemon juice. Oops, there goes the mic. We want to use the zest. Very important to use the zest on these. Has all the flavor. Don't rub it down to the white part. Once you get to the white, turn it and go just yellow. You don't want to have the white part. It's bitter. All right. So just the yellow. If you can see, I still have the not the white is the white doesn't get exposed. All right. Now a little bit of lime. And then we're going to cut it in half and juice them. You can hand squeeze them, or you can cheat with a little juicer. That way you get it all out. You don't waste any. There's the lemon. There's the lime. These are a little bit harder. There you go. Now we want to finish it off with a little bit of pepper, a little bit of kosher salt. I use the green Tabasco on this one. It goes great with salsa. I'm kind of addicted to this. It's good stuff. It's a lot of people think it's hotter than the other Tabasco. It's actually milder. It's more vinegary flavored as opposed to spicy Tabasco sauce. And I also use Cholula, but you can use whatever hot sauce you like. And that is our Pico De Gallo. You can also add, if you wanted to, you could add a little bit of avocado oil, which is nice. A splash of vinegar you could also use. It's up to you. It's up to your flavors. And then last, we're going to put in a few herbs that we have from our garden. We have some cilantro here and a green onion. And those will go in also. Clear this board up. I don't like too fine of a chop on the cilantro. I like to have a little bit of body to it. Right in. And the scallions. And this is Pico De Gallo sauce with avocado. And I like to serve it over pan-seared or grilled salmon this time of year. It's nice with it. It has lots of different applications. You can use it in your tacos. You can use it on grilled chicken. You can add a little blue cheese to it maybe even, or cojita cheese, and put it on a steak. But it has different applications. So that's Pico De Gallo. We're going to move on. Our next demonstration is going to be a watermelon salad. Summer favorite. All right, first thing we got going, I have some boiling water going on here. And I'm going to drop the corn in it just for about a minute. Good way to peel the corn is I cut the ends off like this. This side here, cut this off. Cut the other end off, about an inch. Throw it in a microwave for about 3 to 4 minutes. Take it out, let it sit for a minute, put it back in another 3 to 4 minutes, take it out. And if you squeeze this end of it, the skinny end of the husk, it will peel off with all the silk on it, so you won't have to spend all day pulling all the little strings off. A little, unless your kids are around, it's always a good job for your kids to do. There's one corn silk, basically. I'm not sure if this is true, but I heard that there's one corn silk, I haven't taken the time to count them yet, per every kernel of corn. Sounded good when I heard it, when I read it. All right. So we're going to start with the watermelon. You want to cut both ends off and peel in a round motion around the shape of the watermelon. Try to keep it nice and flat. Flat surface prevents it from rolling. When it's like this, you're more likely to get a cut. You want to remove all the white. Just like the lemon, it's bitter. So if you see any there, just trim that off. Trim it off. There we go with that. We're only going to need about 1/3 of this for this recipe. Put that over there. Again, you want to keep it nice and square and flat. A lot easier to handle. And you want to try to get everything basically the same size. So you're doing a slice. Going to put it on this flat side again. And you cut it in strips. This. Same over here. And then you're going to cut all your cubes. Looks easy, doesn't it? Now we have a red onion, we have a cucumber, which I'm going to peel. The dressing we use for this today, we use our house dressing. You can also use, at home, a lot of times my wife will use Ken's. She prefers her Ken's marinade, so we use that a lot of times too. But here at the Endicott, we make our own dressings. So we're going to post all the recipes for this once again, so that everyone can try them at home. Same thing, flat surface, cut in long strips, and then cubes. All right. And I'm going to check on that corn. You don't want to overcook it. You want to give it about a minute. That's all corn really needs. A lot of people boil it, and they boil it for way too long. They take away all the flavor. All right, we'll give that a minute to cool off, and I'm going to cut some red onion. So this one you want a little bit finer. See that, okay? All right. When you're cutting an onion, you want to cut it from the thick end down to the stem end. Not all the way through, but almost all the way through. Show you. So that it fans out like this, and this end is attached. And you want to cut across it this way. Just be very careful. Been doing this 37 years here at the Undercard House, so little show with my knife by now, I hope. All right. That goes in. Okay, now the corn. You want to stand it on the flat end that you cut. It's a lot easier if you cut it ahead of time so it won't roll on you once again. And you cut all the way down. Remove the corn. You can also use canned or frozen corn if you wanted to, but that's kind of silly, especially this time of year. Corn's starting to come in good right now. August is the best corn for me. We get it from Rochester. That's my favorite. I'm sure everybody has their favorite, but we go to the corn man down the Cape and we get it from Rochester. He gets it from Rochester. So. All right, this one's a little messier. Over. That's going to go right in. And I'm going to put some lime zest on this. Excuse me. I'll put some lime zest on this. Once again, just use the green part. And a little bit of the juice. And I'm going to put some feta cheese. This is a block feta as opposed to the crumble. You can use the crumbled, but I prefer the nice cubes. It's more uniform looking for me than the crumble, but either one will work, same flavor. A nice even cube, same size as your watermelon and cucumber. All right, so that's going to go in there. I think I need a bigger bowl. Okay. Now we have some Cajun rub here. You can use Paul Prudhomme's rub, any of the spice rubs that you like. If you don't like that kind of a spice, you can use just salt and pepper. But Paul Prudhomme makes a good one. We buy one here at Endicott from a local spice company. And here's our house dressing. A little bit of that to coat it. Some salt and black pepper. I'm going to mix that up.
No.
This goes nice as a side instead of bringing potato salad to a party. A coleslaw, the typical thing, the pasta salad. This is always a big hit in my family. But you could also use it as a side. It goes a nice side dish as opposed to rice or something like that. But it goes really nice with a grilled chicken. And we can put a nice mint leaf on top of that. Make a nice little garnish. And that's a watermelon salad. So Joe's gonna get a shot of that. And we're gonna move over here. Our next demo is gonna be a tortellini salad with roasted vegetables, which are already done, but I'm gonna make the pesto today and mix it with. This is what it looks like. You wanna use, we'll provide the recipe online. But it's roasted vegetables. Use whatever you have in your garden, whatever's fresh at the time. And add it to your tortellini. Roast it on the grill. You can roast it in a 400-degree oven if you want to do it that way. And we're going to make some pesto. So here's our basil. I'll take all the leaves off. I'm going to make it two different ways for you today. If you have a blender, it's going to be the easiest way to do it. You just want to put all your herbs in the blender. A little bit of the stem of the parsley. This is a flat leaf parsley. A little bit of the stem is fine. It has great flavor. So you don't have to be too picky and get just the leaves off. Parsley stems are yummy. They're actually good for your breath too. I'm going to put the basil on there. And I'm going to toast off some pine nuts. What you want to do with pine nuts, you don't want to put oil in a pan or spray it or anything. Just dry pan. Just heat it up to about a medium flame. While that's heating, I'm going to get a couple of cloves of garlic off. When you want to peel the garlic, a little helpful tip is to smash it with the leaves on it. Choose the fat end of your knife, give it a little punch, and peel them off. And there you go. Rather than cut it and peel it with a knife, it takes forever and it doesn't work as well. So. Same thing. I don't know about you, but I love garlic. That's the Italian in me. I have 3 cloves of garlic in here. You can use 4 or 5 if you want. Depends on your flavor again. Recipes are all made to taste. It's my recipes at home are different than my recipes here because I like things hotter. I like things more garlicky. I don't use as much salt, and so forth. So here we have some pine nuts. You want to just toss those in the pan. Just keep tossing them. Stir them. If you let them settle, they'll burn on you. So you just want to keep tossing. I'm going to put a little pepper in the pesto. A little bit of kosher salt. And I have some extra virgin olive oil available. And I have some lemon oil. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start this up. I'm going to puree them fine, and then we're going to add the oil slowly to the pesto so it'll blend together. Pine nuts, we're going to give an extra second before we add them. I like to have a little texture with them. If you want them ground up in the pesto, you can do that, but I like a little bit of texture to them. So that's good. So you just want to get a little bit of color on them. You don't want to get them black. If they're black, pull them out and use them and throw them away. All right. So I'm going to turn this on again. Add the oil very slowly. There we go. You can see it coming together. And I like to put a little splash of lemon oil. Another thing I like to do at home, and you may also, is crushed red pepper. Give it a little spice. You can add some avocados, which are in season too. And this, you're just going to pulse it a couple of times. And that's the pesto. Okay, this over here. So I'm going to pour that right in with the pasta. You can use this on a number of applications. I did grill some more salmon earlier today because it's my favorite. And pesto goes really good with that. So I'll put a little bit on that, and that will be my lunch. All righty. So I'm going to toss that. And that's our tortellini pesto roasted vegetable salad. One other thing we can do also, I wanted to show you guys, is if you don't have a blender, and if you want to do this a little rougher, you can pull some of the leaves off of your basil plant. You want to pinch off the tops, because what they'll do is they'll develop two buds and they'll split out, so you'll have a wider plant. But if you take them from the bottom, it will end up killing the plant. So what you want to do with basil, if you buy it in the store, if you just buy basil, get all the large leaves first, line them up on the table, on your cutting board, sorry. And then what you want to do is you want to roll them up. Roll them up nice and tight. And then you're going to cut them in a chiffonade, which is a thin, thin slice. Just like that. And my grandmother didn't have a robo-coup or a food processor. That's how she did it. It worked for her. So it's not about the equipment sometimes. So what you want to do is you go through the same process, do it in a bowl, add the oil slowly, the pine nuts, same process. So we're just going to throw it on top of my pesto salad here. And that is our tortellini salad. If we have any questions on anything, I'd be glad to answer them. This. This is going to be my dinner tonight too. So if we have any questions, Jen?
So one of the first questions was, how long does pesto last in the refrigerator after you make it?
You should really, ideally, you should really use it the day you make it. It's an easy enough recipe that you probably shouldn't keep in the fridge. But if you had to, if you're planning an event or something, or a family party, and you have a lot of other things to do, it'll last maybe a day, 2 days. After 2 days, it's going to start getting gray, and it's going to lose its color. You see it in supermarkets sometimes, and it's very bright green. They use preservatives a lot of times with that, and that holds the color for a long time. You can also freeze it. It's another way of doing it. You can freeze it, put it in an ice tray, the old ice trays if you can find one. Put them in that, and then freeze it, wrap it in plastic and freeze it. And then when you need it, just pull it out, throw the frozen pesto right in the pan, warm it up. It should be fine. Ideally, you want it fresh, right from the plant, right in your salad or however you're using it. But yeah, you certainly can. You can make it last. I wouldn't give it more than 2-3 days fresh, because you're going to start losing the color, and then things don't taste as good when the color's gone.
The next question is, what other cheeses could you use other than feta in the salad recipe? Oh, you could use mozzarella. Fresh buffalo mozzarella goes nice with it. You could use a Mexican cojita cheese, which is also good. You could use a diced up fontina cheese, which would be nice. But I think I like the texture. You could also use blue cheese, sorry, but you could the texture and the pungent flavor of the feta really complements well with the citrus from the lime and the watermelon, the sweetness. It really blends together. Give it a shot first if you're going to try it, and you tell me if you think that's better. But I find that to be the most flavorful cheese for this application. But yeah, you could use other cheeses. Blue cheese might be a little bit too strong. It depends on your taste. I prefer the feta. And if you could get the fresh feta too, the Greek feta, imported feta, excuse me, or fresh. There's some great farms in Vermont that make fresh feta. They're delicious. They're comparable to the imported feta. But a lot of the feta, like if you go to a sub shop, a lot of it is, it's a cheap feta that they use, a cheap brand, and it's very salty. Once you try real feta, imported feta, you'll never go back. You'll have a whole different outlook on what feta tastes like. Is there anything you can substitute for the red onion in the salad recipe?
Yeah, you could not put the onion in. I prefer a lot of times, I'll use shallots a lot of times. Most people don't use them very often. You're starting to see them in the supermarkets now. For years, they never had them. Never had them. They were only for kitchen applications. And I never saw them in supermarkets. Once in a while in Whole Foods would have them, but I do see a lot of supermarkets carrying them now. But it's a little milder than an onion. It's a little sweeter, has a little different flavor. So if it's the strong flavor in onion that bothers you, then I would try the shallot. But Vidalias are sweet. They're delicious. I know they say people can eat them like apples. I wouldn't, but some people do. I'd like to see somebody do it, but they're sweet. But I wouldn't go that far with them. But you could use the Bermuda onions is the other one. You could use that, or you could just use green onions. But I wouldn't recommend any like the white onions. They're a little too sour, and it's about.
What is the flavor of the house dressing that you mentioned using?
It's we use a whole grain vinaigrette here. It's a whole grain mustard, shallots. There's a dash of lemon oil in this. We use extra virgin olive oil, white balsamic vinegar, a little touch of Dijon mustard also. Salt, pepper, chopped garlic, shallots, there they go, and a little dash of green Tabasco, which I say earlier, I should work for them. I kind of use a lot of it. But yeah, that's our house dressing. We also have a dark balsamic dressing that we also use too. It's a 15-year aged balsamic vinegar. That also goes well. It wouldn't work well with a dish like this because of the coloring, but you could use it in, it goes great with fish and other dishes and salads.
Can you recommend a brand of olive oil?
A brand of olive oil. Calavita is probably the one I use most at work here. There's a number of good ones out there. A good source for that would be Cook's Magazine. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but if you go look in Cook's Magazine, they do comparisons of different olive oils, and they give great explanations of different brands and what they taste like, the cost of them, whether it's worth paying the extra money. It's not always worth paying just because one is $10 and one is $3. It's not always necessarily better that the 10 is better than the 3. So do your research. There's a ton of them. Calavita works well for me for our applications here, and once in a while I spoil myself with we have the name slips me as a matter of fact, but we have one at home that my wife buys every once in a while. It's a California olive oil, but it's like $24 a bottle for like a 10-ounce bottle, and so very sparingly. But Calavita extra virgin olive oil is a good go-to for me.
If you prepare a dish ahead of time that includes avocado, should you wait to add the avocado into the dish?
Should you wait to add it? You should wait a little bit. The best thing to do with an avocado when you open it up is to squeeze a little lemon, any citrus on it. Lemon, lime, orange, any citrus will work on it. That'll keep it from turning black. Also, when you open up an avocado, if you leave the pit in, take the pit out, sorry. When you peel it out, if you're making guacamole or something, throw the pit back in, squeeze some lemon over and let it sit there while you do all your other prep work. But I tend to do all my prep work first and then have everything ready. Everything's ready to go mixed together at the same time. I don't like things waiting and hanging around. I like to get things ready to be prepared. Even like this here today, I wouldn't chop the watermelon, for instance, and then go to the cucumber. I chop all the watermelon, I put it in a bowl off to the side. I do the cucumber, put it in a bowl off to the side. The onion, everything mise en place. Everything would be in its place. And then I would combine all the ingredients, and I would most likely use the avocado last. But as long as you cover it with citrus, it's not going to turn color on you. Again, that's one of those items you don't want to leave in the refrigerator. Once you cut into it, you can wrap it, leave the pit in it, and squeeze a little lemon on it. You may get a day out of it, but it is going to discolor a little bit. You're going to get a little bit of browning. It's still going to taste good. It's not going to go bad, but it's not as attractive looking.
And the last question we have is, why do you use kosher salt instead of regular salt?
Which one is that? Sorry.
Why do you use kosher salt instead of regular salt?
Kosher salt is For a chef, it's a lot easier to handle when you're doing kosher salt. When you're doing kosher salt, it's a lot easier to gauge how much salt you're adding to a dish too. It's healthier for you. It's not an iodized salt. It's heart healthy for me. So another reason. I also use sea salt. Himalayan salt is also very tasty salt right now. It's getting very popular. It's hard to explain. The iodized salt, people tend to over salt things with that because it's so fine you can't see what you're putting on the dish. And with the kosher salt, you can actually see how many crystals you're putting on a dish. Gives you a better gauge on where your salt content is going to be. So that's another reason. And so that's it for the questions today. Well, thank you all for watching me today. Hope I taught something to you guys. We look forward to getting everybody back to the Endicott house. Looking forward to better days ahead. Everybody take care and thank you and goodbye.